We're talking to Pastor Kevin Walker, and the issue is the reentry of individuals who have been incarcerated into a free society. And of course, Reverend Walker, over the last, this last segment, let's give you an opportunity to expand upon some of the things that you're telling us, that in reality you're enlightening us in reference to what is going on in reference to ex-offenders who are coming back into society. Let's continue that.
Okay. As I was saying before the break, Commissioner White, Quentin White, he has really put some focus on reentry programs. He's really trying to look in that area because something has to be done to break the recidivism rate. Now, and it not only starts with the reentry program, but it should back up with the parole board. You know, when you, again, once you got an individual that has proven themselves worthy of release, and then you got a parole board that's sitting there and they're basically retrying the case. I said at one hearing at one time, and I saw a parole board member actually recommend that an individual be put off for 20 years. I mean, that's a brand new sentence that can only be handed down by the court. You know, of course it didn't stand, but just to even recommend that, I mean, that's just, to me, Dr. Haney, that's just pure foolishness, and it just don't make any kind of sense whatsoever. That's another system that I think that really needs to be looked at. Now, I'm not saying open the floodgates and let everybody out, because there's some people in prison that need to be in prison that don't need to get out of prison. You know, when I went to prison, I needed to be there for the time that I was there because I was a criminal and my mind was set on committing crimes. And that leads to another issue as well. You take an individual, and a lot of people don't realize, and this is concerning the rights, your civil rights, your rights as a citizen of the state of Tennessee of the United States of America, in voting, in terms of voting and stuff. It's so messed up there. So many, the way they got it broke down, this person can't vote, this one can, this one won't ever be able to vote. But in essence, when you commit a crime in the state of Tennessee or in the United States of America, or let me narrow it down to the state of Tennessee. When you commit a crime in the state of Tennessee, you can go commit a crime. You may go and do 3 years. You may do 5 years. You may do 1 year. A felony conviction. But in essence, what you have in your possession is a life sentence, because for the rest of your life, and they don't want you to vote, you know, you don't have the rights of a citizen, truly rights of a citizen of this country. You know, my thing is, if you don't want me to vote, you know, and all that stuff, then I don't see why I should have to pay taxes either. Why not? Don't press me about paying income tax and stuff. If I don't have a right to vote, you know, let's do the whole ball of wax, and we're gonna do any parts of it. You know, and I think that's a big issue as well. But we have structured programs through the Hands of God Recovery Ministries, and we are on the approved list of they call them halfway houses, we call them recovery houses. People coming out of Tennessee Department of Correction, and our programs are structured and they're designed to help individuals make that transition back into society. We want to take the individuals as they come out and then basically show them the love of God. You know, show them that, first of all, God has forgiven you for whatever it is that you did. We're not concerned about that, you know. We want to know what you did. Of course we want to know your crime, but we're not concerned about your crime because God has forgiven you. Now what we want to do is be a servant to you and help you to make that transition.
Make that transition back into society.
Help you to get the job, help you to mend the relationships that you had that maybe you have destroyed with your loved one as a result of your drug addiction or your incarceration or whatever it is that caused you to be incarcerated. And help you to mend those relationships, help you to get gainfully employed, and help you to become responsible, paying your bills, you know, contributing to this tax system that I don't believe I should have to pay anyway. But you know, to help a person in that progress, that's what we're all about, because there's a big need, and if people got to realize, when people in the prison system, they got sentences that have parole dates or expiration dates, they're going to either parole out or they're going to either expire their sentences. It's up to us that are out here in so-called free world society to make a determination right now as to how much help can we give these individuals, because one day they might be your neighbor.
Well, why don't you speak to, over the last 5 or 6 minutes that we have, why don't you speak to this issue of employers, individuals? I mean, you know, we give lip service to the fact that we are equal opportunity employers and et cetera, et cetera. But as you indicated earlier, when an individual comes and who has done any kind of time in a correctional institution, for all practical purposes, they might as well ought not to apply.
That's true.
Even though owners give what? Lip service. Speak to that. I mean, how
like you say, Dr. Haney, they say we're equal opportunity employer. But then what about the guy with the skills, or even the guy that don't have the skills but have the family? You know, here's a guy that's been incarcerated 5 years or so. He gets out and he comes back. His family is waiting for him. He's got the wife. He's got 2 or 3 children. they would love to eat food too. You know, they like to eat. You know, they would love to go to the movies. They would love to be able to ride around their own automobile, live in their own houses and stuff like that. But we all know that it takes money to do these type of things. Now, if I go and present myself, and if I go and present my best self to an employer, and then he looks at me and he knows that I'm qualified to do the job. He knows that his instinct tells him that this guy will make a great employee. But yet, because of our policy, we're equal opportunity employer, but our policy said we can employ you. Where's the equal? I mean, what's equal about that? You know, I don't understand that. You know, these people need an opportunity. You know, just like everybody else needs an opportunity. The guy coming out of college has spent 4 years in college, 6 years in college, what have you, coming out of college, knocking on the door with a resume in hand, needing a job, they need a job. The people coming out of the prison system is not unlike that individual. They need a job as well. If you don't help me to progress in life, then don't criticize me when I fail because of a system you got in place that's really designed to see me fail.
Well, now, are there jobs that the state itself have that individuals that since the state is an employer?
God, help me on that one.
You see?
Yeah.
Now, are there jobs that the state could identify and say that when we release an individual, that these are the jobs that we in the state have available that these individuals could possibly apply for, and et cetera?
Dr. Andy, the thing is this. You got people in state custody are working for the state. But when you get released from state custody, you're not qualified to work for the state. You know, come on, man. You can't get a state ID. You've been in state custody for 20 years. You get out, you can't have a state ID. You had one for 20 years, we're taking it back. You've been working a state job for the last 20 years. You've been doing great at it. You know, we appreciate it.
And the same job that you've been working at, you've been so great, we can't fool even though the money that we might be paying you for doing that job is more than the money, is less than the money that we had to pay while we were keeping you incarcerated to do the same job.
You know, the thing is, my point is this: if I'm qualified to do the job, I'm qualified to do the job. If I can do it inside, I should be qualified to do it outside. I mean, you got people in there doing clerical work and stuff like that. They're working with the chaplains. I mean, I know some guys at River Bend. They do the bulk of the work. They make it flow. You know, chaplains got it going on. You know what I'm saying? And that's a good thing. But now you take that same individual, get out, and then the state won't employ that individual. But why not? They didn't employ them all these years. You know, only difference there will be a difference in the rate of pay. The individual is the same individual. He's the same person you praise on the inside when he got it done. I mean, why not give him a chance to do the same thing when they get out?
And he's out of the system itself, and so that really does not cost the state anything. And the very money it might be saving, it could possibly hire that individual. Well, it's a win-win kind of situation.
It's a win-win situation, and I think some minds need to get together and start thinking about, start looking at what the vehicle we got in place and see why. You know, I mean, you just can't place the fault of the recidivism rate on the individual, the inmates that's going out committing the crimes, going back. It's a deeper look than that. You got to look at some of these systems that are in place that are by design to elevate this recidivism rate. Because if you move some of these stumbling blocks out of the way, people won't stumble. If you got something out there in front of me that I'm going to stumble over, then I'll stumble.
And identification, you believe, is a stumbling block.
It's a great stumbling block, Dr. Haney, and it really needs to be fixed. That needs to be fixed. People need to have the right to vote. The parole system needs to be fixed. That old seriousness of offense is a catch-all phrase that's designed to keep folks incarcerated that they know will be productive in society, but they just don't want to let them out.
And the great number of individuals that we have incarcerated all across the nation and et cetera can be assisted and be very, very helpful and useful kind of individuals.
Absolutely.
If we were to look at this from a different perspective.
If we looked at it from a different perspective and we respect the fact that these people, these are human beings, they have minds, they have intellects, they have intelligence just like we have, and they deserve the opportunity just like we have right here to prosper, take care of our families, to contribute to church fundings and anything else, nonprofit organizations, do anything else, they have the same right, and they should be afforded that right. And systems that are in place that are designed to impede people should be broken up and moved out of the way so people can enter back into society and be productive members of society. And those people that don't have the right mindset, we need to get them out of those places because they're the barriers. It's not the inmate all the time that's the barrier. It's the people operating the system in a lot of situations.
Very good. And of course, Reverend Walker, let me, we've come to the end of the show for today, but let me thank you for coming by. Let me encourage our audience to tune in again next week for another informative edition of Comments. Thank you and good morning.